nonstop Vikings talk. It's Purple Daily on Score North and ScoreNorth.com. Purple Daily, presented by Surly Brewing Company.
Brian Baldinger doesn't just like football, he loves football.
The single best left tackle in the NFL in 2020 is Teron Armstead. I mean, I guess he didn't get the message on this shove right here about anti-bullying in America.
Football!
Football, yeah!
Football!
Let's get it.
Let's get it. Purple Daily with Brian Baldinger and Phil Mackey, Judd Zolgad, Declan Goff, our executive producer, and our football-loving and draft scouting friend from NBC Sports Edge, Tyler Forness. Is that an Oilers, old-school Oilers hoodie you're rocking today?
He loves
Oh,
it.
that's awesome. Yeah, Moon jersey. That's a name they should bring back. Houston should bring that back. Screw the Texans. That's a terrible name.
They could use a refresh at this point, too, I feel like.
So
That franchise.
We're gonna run into the same problems as the as the Charlotte Hornets trying to get the Hornets name back, because technically the Titans own the Oilers trademark, and that's the reason why it's the Texans. Bud Adams was kind of a jerk about it because they wanted to bring the Oilers back when they did the revamp in 2002. Art Modell's like, fine, you can have the Browns. Doesn't mean anything to me anyways, but.
Well, and also Tennessee kept the color scheme too. Like Tennessee kind of has the Oilers, the baby blue.
I love the scheme,
so you'd have to have a different color scheme. But let's
Bud's
make it
dead
happen.
though. Bud's dead. Go back to them now and say, give us the Oilers name. Just buy it back from them. I mean, come on.
At this point, just hire June Jones as the head coach, Kevin Gilbride as the OC, the ghost of Buddy Ryan, so then they can have punches on the sidelines thrown again.
Hell yes.
Give me some Oilers run and shoot, baby.
I challenge you guys to an early '90s Oilers name off. Ernest
Tyler
Givens,
will win it. Yeah.
Warren Moon.
Haywood
Warren
Jeffries.
Moon.
Eddie George was a
Orlando.
Houston Tech. He was a Houston before he was a Tennessee Titan, right? Eddie George was there.
Alonzo Highsmith, Mike
Chris
Munchak,
Dishman, right?
Lorenzo
Chris
White.
Dishman,
Chris Dishman.
Brad Hopkins,
Mike Munchak played there.
This is
I believe.
incredible.
Amazing.
John Jones, William Fuller, Ray Childress.
I love
Ray,
it.
I loved
go.
Ray Childress. Ray Childress was a baller, man.
First round pick, 1978.
I'll bet the audience didn't realize that this was we tricked you. You thought we were going to talk about Malik Willis. No, we're just going to name random obscure Oilers players from the '90s.
But there is only
Webster
one name.
Slaughter.
But there is only one name truly when you think of that franchise, and it is the great number 34, Earl Campbell.
Yeah, was he the one in the famous clip where his jersey's being ripped off
Tearaway
in
jersey.
slow motion? Right?
Oh my God! Yeah, against the Dolphins, Monday night, Astrodome, 1978. Because we're the Houston Oilers.
Love you,
Houston
Blue.
Oilers. Oh, it's fantastic.
That's right. We just love football here on Purple Daily. Daily Vikings Entertainment. We just want the Vikings to win a Super Bowl before we die. They've got a GM and a coach, so you need those things to win a Super Bowl, so they're off to a good start. Tyler, you were at the Senior Bowl last week, and you can also find Tyler in addition to NBC Sports Edge. He does podcasting work for Climb in the Pocket. We think the Vikings should be in the market for a quarterback either this year or next year. We'd love your thoughts on the quarterbacks that stood out. Let's start with quarterbacks. Which quarterbacks? Like, people are saying this is kind of a throwaway quarterback draft class, that there's not really any franchise guys in there. Give us a full breakdown of who you liked at the Senior Bowl.
Absolutely. It's going to start and end with Malik Willis. When you watched him at Liberty, the whole offense was just backyard football. And I wrote that in my piece for NBC Sports Edge on Tuesday. And somebody snitch tagged Hugh Freeze, and he's the head coach of Liberty. He's like, oh, that wins a lot of games there, doesn't it? Well, at the end of the day, it doesn't really project out to the NFL. And being able to thrive in structure is probably the most important thing for a quarterback. Yes, you love the off-platform stuff. Yes, you love being able to scramble and make plays when the play breaks down. But if you can't play within structure, you're not going to go anywhere. And Malik Willis was set up kind of to fail at Liberty. All 10 starters surrounding him on the offense are UDFA-type players. We're not talking about a draftable prospect. And when you have that with a scheme that is really like RPO-centric, there aren't progressions built into the offense. It's all like looking at a safety pre-snap stuff. Malik Willis had to play hero ball, and he had to really win by himself. So playing within structure was not a thing. You go to the Senior Bowl where the entire thing is 100% structure, and he thrived. And he thrived from the start. It was incredible. The ball pops off of his hand. It's a genuine bazooka that's attached to his shoulder. He was able to make throws to the outside, over the middle, deep. You go on my Twitter feed from last Tuesday, and you'll just see a bevy of stuff from Malik Willis that day. He was far and away the most traits quarterback. He has the best arm. He's got incredible athleticism. He's a little slower than Lamar Jackson, and he has a similar running style to Jalen Hurts where he's got power, but he's also much faster. He's going to run in the 4.3s. If I remember correctly, he has a recorded time of like 4.38 in the 40. This is a dynamic athlete. And when you're talking about somebody that you need to bet on to be great, you want to bet on the guy with the high traits. You want to bet on a guy that you believe you can fix their issues. Malik has issues. He does not have a solid base underneath him. He needs to learn how to play quarterback in the pocket. He needs to learn how to trust reads. He needs to learn progressions. He needs to learn basic route concepts. That stuff was not afforded to him at Liberty. So he will take time. But you have the potential to be a top 5 quarterback if you are able to hit on the greatness that is Malik Willis's traits. If you're going to bet on a guy to be a Josh Allen type outlier, it's Malik Willis with a bullet.
So where do you think he goes then, draft-wise? Top 10?
When he goes to the combine and he wows there, he's going to go top 10.
Yeah, okay.
I don't think it's...
So you'd have to get in the top 10.
Yeah. There are going to be teams that are completely out on Willis because of the in-structure struggles. They don't want to bet on him having that outlier type rise like Josh Allen did. But in the piece I wrote for the Vikings Wire, there's so many similarities between the two as far as what they dealt with in college, what they had surrounding them, and how they play the game of football. You can extrapolate it and believe that you can have Willis set on the right path. It may not work, but if you hit, you're talking about a quarterback that can take you to a Super Bowl.
So, and some of this is going to, how high does he climb is going to depend on, which teams in the top 10 are actually quarterback needy. Jacksonville, no. Detroit, yes, but I don't know that they would take him at 2. So that's an interesting spot. Houston, who the hell knows?
They're in on Jared Goff right now, for better or worse. I think they will take a guy, but from my conversations at the Senior Bowl, it's not going to be top 5. They're likely going to take Aiden Hutchinson or Kayvon Thibodeau, from what I've been hearing.
Then that makes sense. Take an edge rusher, keep fortifying the defense. Houston, who the hell knows? I mean, I think they, the Deshaun Watson thing is going to play out. What's his name? The Stanford kid played pretty well last year.
Davis Mills.
So we'll see. The Jets, no. The Giants are kind of a maybe with Daniel Jones.
I don't think they will, but the ownership has spoken about how they've done literally everything to fail Daniel Jones. And I think they want to take this offseason and give him a fighting chance. And I think when you have Brian Daboll as your head coach, he's going to be able to scheme it up. They're going to improve the offensive line. They already have a good group of weapons, but they were never healthy last year, and that's why the offense was as abysmal as it was. Carolina's
the first team at 6 that really strikes me as they could draft a quarterback.
They're going to take Kenny Pickett. Based on everything I've been hearing, they're enamored with Kenny Pickett. Matt Rule got Kenny Pickett to commit to Temple when Matt Rule was the head coach there, and then he left to Baylor, and Pickett flipped over to Pitt. There's a pre-existing relationship there. There's already a comfort factor. Pickett already wanted to go play for Rule, and Rule wanted him.
Rule might only get about 5 minutes with Kenny Pickett if the season doesn't go well.
Matt Rule should be fired right now. Save yourself the heartache and the drama. Fire Matt Rule tomorrow, and he's just not.
And here's the thing with Matt Rule and Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett's a jag. There's literally nothing he does that'll wow you. He has no elite traits. He is average across the board. Now, you put him on a Denver Broncos roster, you can probably win a Super Bowl with that because you have an average to above average type floor ceiling with Kenny Pickett. It was why the Patriots took Mac Jones. They thought they could build an elite enough team around him to compensate for what he doesn't do well. And Pickett really, it makes so much sense when you look at the two quarterbacks he's invested in. Teddy Bridgewater post-knee injury, kind of a jag. Sam Darnold, like Mel Kiper Jr. is still in love with Darnold. He said he would have taken him over Trevor Lawrence last year. Darnold.
I love. So jag means just a guy, right?
Yes.
I love that. I'm gonna start. I didn't know that was a thing.
That's a football sounder right there.
I know. Just a guy is a thing. I didn't know that there was a shortened version of it.
Yeah.
I'm here for the shortened version. So real quick here. So if you're right about Kenny Pickett maybe going 6, then the Giants are back at 7. Atlanta probably looking for a quarterback at some point. I guess my question is, if the Vikings, whether it's Malik Willis or somebody else, they're within striking distance. You don't have to trade up to 3rd necessarily to get a quarterback here. Like, you might have to trade up to get Malik Willis, but maybe only like 5 spots or 4 spots. So it's realistic. Do you think the Vikings should, and I will preface this by saying, whether they keep Kirk for another year or not, they still need a long-term quarterback. And so we're not going to do the whole Kirk, we're not going to litigate the whole Kirk thing again on this show. But if whether they keep him or not, they're going to be looking this year, next year for a quarterback of the future. Should they trade up for Malik Willis?
That's a tough one. Yeah, I think it all depends on the structure you have in place. Do you believe you can coach him up? Does Kevin O'Connell have the stones to be like, that's my guy, I believe I can make him great and put him on that Josh Allen type trajectory? If you believe so, you trade up for him. But that fatal flaw of struggling within structure and struggling to basically run any form of offense that wasn't backyard football, that can be a very tough sell, especially for a guy like O'Connell, who, if the Fowler reports are true that he's really enamored and loves a quarterback like Kirk Cousins, these wide zone guys, they like the safe, conservative quarterback. Are they going to want to take a firecracker like Malik Willis? I genuinely don't know. If I were betting my career on it, I'd want to spend some time and kind of see. But the Senior Bowl showed me that he should be a top 10 overall selection. The one team that they're going to have to fight with is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah. They were seen all over Mobile talking with his parents, his agent, him himself. And Daniel Jeremiah was on the Ari Meirov show, the new PFF podcast. And he was talking about how the entire league believes that he's just going to end up as a Pittsburgh Steeler. So there are elements to this in play. The Steelers have shown that they are willing to go up and get their guy. They traded a boatload to go up from 20 to 10 to get Devin Bush a few years ago. I wouldn't be shocked if they end up in the top 10 picking Malik Willis.
So if the Vikings do this or consider it, how about this? I'm going to throw this out as a possibility.
Is this reckless speculation Thursday?
Yeah. It fits the
speculation,
the day of the week. What if you were to accept the fact that Kirk's contract, while expensive, is going to come in a year where your team was not going to be great, and you actually decided to cut guys that weren't Kirk, keep Kirk on the last year of that massive cap hit, take Willis and Tyler, develop him? Because it sounds like you're talking about a guy that ideally can spend a year being actually honed and developed. Would that be now? I know that with a first round QB in 2022, that's rare because teams like to play these guys as quickly as possible. But there are a lot of people around the league that believe it is best to try and develop a guy. And it sounds like you're talking about a guy who's got some great raw skills but could use development. Would that thought process work as a strategy to unveil him as your starter, not in 22 but in 23?
I think that strategy would work really well because he's going to have to learn so many of those little nuances about just playing quarterback. He is a playmaker with a bazooka right now, and I don't believe he's a pure structured quarterback like you want to see at the NFL level. He knows how to make plays, he knows how to play hero ball, and he knows how to make just piss missile throws down the field.
Yes.
And it's incredible what he can do, but right now it's about fixing what he can't do. If you want to start him right away, you can. Just look at the offense that Jalen Hurts runs in Philly. Very run-centric. I'm going to put you in a position to succeed right away. And utilize him on the move. Utilize him in the running game. You can make it work right away. I don't think you have to. I think you can have him behind Kirk Cousins. But I'll pose this question because I know we don't want to get into the whole Kirk thing today because that's just been beaten to absolute death. But if you keep Kirk Cousins on that $45 million cap hit, is that also you admitting that you're not getting more than a third-round pick in a trade?
I I agree. I know where you're going here. That's keeping him on a $45 million cap hit is the third option by 10 miles, right? Like, and I feel like if you've decided, hey, we're not going to extend him. It's just not, we're not going to do this for 3 more years. We're not going to pay him when he's 36, 37, and we're not getting enough for the money even on a restructure. Then you have to trade him for almost anything. Like, I'm not even drawing a line with a 3rd-round pick. If I decide I don't want him as my quarterback beyond 2022, then I am trading him. Now I'm going to try and boost his value. I am trading him for anything. I don't care if it's a 4th or a 5th. To me, the cap space is just as valuable, unless it's a 1st-round pick. Like, give me the $35 million in cap space. Let me build up a roster. Let me find a center. Let me find a right guard. So, yeah, I just don't see a path to them playing him on a $45 million cap. It doesn't make any sense.
I don't, but I do think that it would be a very constructive way to be bad, and to say, okay, dude's gonna eat nothing that we can do here, and to not build up around him, actually let some guys that are probably fan favorites go, and develop a young quarterback behind him, and then he walks. I don't like that idea, but it would be a very Minnesotan passive aggressive way to be crappy. Because I think it would drag your team down.
That's fair. So, all right, Tyler. Declan has some. Let's watch a little Malik Willis here, real quick. Here, you got some clips here for us, Dex?
Yep.
Beautiful deep ball. Look at that beautiful deep ball. What great photography work there too. Videography work by Tyler Forness. Was that you?
That was me.
Right. Okay. Just following that ball perfectly. You know, maybe if this football analysis career doesn't work out, you can work for Fox as a camera operator or something. So, all right, let's get into some other potential targets, players, guys who stood out here. But first, Judd, a cheers to our friends at Surly Brewing Company. And before you brag about Surly, I want to throw this out too. That today's code word is pint. Today's code word is pint. If you want to hang out with us at the Surly Brewing Hall on February 19th, Saturday, February 19th, we're going to do a tour at 4 o'clock. We're going to hang out, talk some purple, just a small group. You can enter to win on the Score North app, listener rewards section, and today's code word is pint. So there you go.
Love a good pint. And so the big game on Sunday, you're saying, Judd, what am I going to have to drink? And I'm going to tell you right now, there's only one choice, Surly Brewing, but not just one beer. Go to your liquor store in the next couple days. The first Surly variety pack of 2022 is out. We got the Furious, of course, Havoc Machine, Ghost Empire Dark Lager, and the Hyper Modern Idaho 7 IPA, which I've been talking about now for a few days. Absolutely delicious. The variety pack from Surly, have it by your side when you're watching the big game on Sunday. You'll be glad that you did. And of course, show us your
cans. Show us your cans.
Thank you very much. At Jay Zolgad on Twitter.
All right.
Hey, feel free to come buy it for me. Top 10 Liquors in Osseo. I will sell you plenty of Surly.
Yes.
Great cross promotion, my man. Thank you.
Osseo. All right. Give us some more quarterback notes. Who else? How do you how are you shaking out your quarterback rankings based on what you saw at the Senior Bowl, Tyler?
So one of the big things you want to see everything is contextualized based on the film. And hey, Malik Willis can't succeed inside a structure. He hasn't been able to show it. Well, he showed it here. And it shows you, hey, because he was able to do an environment that was basically set up for him to fail, then you can kind of use that as a projection to be like, hey, maybe we can teach this guy. And then it kind of gets the ball rolling. You also want to see, hey, he's going into a structured environment and then he just tanks. Why is he playing as poorly as he is? And you also want to see guys play within the same level of competition, because this is an incredibly even playing field. And this is why small school guys like Bailey Zappi really have a chance to stand out. And I think Zappi specifically had a little bit of a struggle on day one. He doesn't have a Nerf gun for an arm. It's actually pretty solid. And he's able to fire all the difficult outside throws with ease because it's just classic air raid stuff. Desmond Ridder, there are people who I respect that think he's really, really good. I don't get it. He is so inaccurate. It kind of reminds me of watching Tavares Jackson like 07. He's got all the talent. He's got the mental capacity. But when he's on the field, the ball goes everywhere. And he showed it consistently in practice. What I saw littered over his tape. I don't think I could touch him before day 3. Carson Strong has a howitzer, just an absolute cannon, but he arcs the ball way too much. It's almost like watching like a Kareem Abdul-Jabbar skyhook, just like nice and arced going into the basket. And it cost him a couple times on those deep throws. Kobe Bryant, the cornerback from Cincinnati, had a really nice pass breakup. He was the Jim Thorpe Award winner. He had a great week. And then I heard Strong, he kind of went against some of what the Jets were trying to do. They tried to want to go with a rhythm offense, timing, and he just wanted to show off the arm and show that he was mobile. And I heard he did not do very well in interviews either. Kind of was more on his own agenda than he was anything else.
What's up with his knee too? Doesn't he have he's got a knee condition or something too? The
knee looked great. I didn't see any issues with it. Obviously, you're not going to know unless you see structural damage with like an MRI. But I thought the knee was just fine. He was able to move pretty crisp. I think he moves like Dan Marino in the pocket. He is able to sense pressure, slide away from it, move everywhere in the pocket to avoid it. And I got a couple clips on the Twitter machine where he was doing just that, and he looked really good. But he's never going to be a guy to win outside of structure. He's never going to be somebody who's going to scramble and make plays like a Mahomes or Josh Allen. And you have to be able to live with that. You can live with that when you have the kind of arm he does. But it does limit your offense somewhat. So it's something you have to keep in mind. Sam Howell, he gets the Baker Mayfield comp. And when you see him on the field, like body type wise, almost identical. The difference between Mayfield and Sam Howell is Mayfield has the balls to take a shot. He will be aggressive and try and make that big play. Howell's pretty conservative. He threw the ball away in 2 wide receiver drills. It was 2 wide receivers and 3 defenders, and he threw the ball away. Big red flag for me.
I think he fits right in, actually.
Yeah.
If you want to go from Kirk Cousins to Sam Howell, you're going to be dealing with a lot of the same stuff as far as frustrations that you deal with Kirk.
Yeah.
There's talent there, but I'm out on Sam Howell. My rankings throughout the week, as far as who performed the best, was Willis at 1, followed by Strong, Zappy, Pickett, Howell, and Desmond Ridder following up the
So it kind of sounds like if you don't commit to Malik Willis in the first round, then it might just be try to develop Kellen Mond. If you wind up trading Kirk, find a bridge guy and set your sights on 2023 for quarterback. Is that oversimplifying it?
It might be oversimplifying. We still don't know about Matt Corral. Matt Corral was ineligible for the game because he wasn't there. Some argued he had the best week outside of Malik Willis because everybody else didn't perform very well.
Yeah.
Corral runs that heavy RPO-centric offense. Jeff Lebby, who went on to be the offensive coordinator for this next year at Oklahoma, it's very simple. Half-field reads. You're not utilizing a lot of progressions, and most of his production, like something like 75%, came within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. That's based on what the offense is. There were some reads that he just flat out missed that were pretty brutal. Like, I'm going to take like an 8-yard in when the post is literally half a second from coming open for a touchdown. So he's got some frustrating stuff, but he's got a really good arm. He's got a lot of like determination. He's got guts. Really good runner. Does not turn the ball over as far as running the football, which is a good thing. But he takes a lot of unnecessary hits that you just worry that's going to cost them long term. Howell's got a lot of Corral has a lot of questions too, but I think it's going to be Willis, Pickett, and Corral that are going to be the 3 guys that are going to be drafted in the first round. Strong, I think, has an outside shot, but I don't think the others do.
Who had among these guys the off the field it factor? Who had the most? Because I mean, that's to me an incredibly important thing. It's hard to pick up on at times, but there's always a guy or two who's got a it factor that becomes incredibly important. And with Kirk being gone here eventually, I think that's something that the Vikings, no question, are going to look for. So who impressed you as far as their smarts, their mentality, and their sort of Joe Burrow, I got sacked 9 times, but I don't give a damn?
I don't think there's anybody like that in this group as far as what I saw. One thing that really stood out on tape is Carson Strong at Nevada running that air raid. And it's kind of like an air raid pistol hybrid. So if you remember the Colin Kaepernick offense that he ran before he was drafted, it was very run-centric, and they do like running the football at Nevada, but it's very heavy air raid passing game concepts. There's a lot that you have to do at the line of scrimmage as the quarterback in that system. And Carson Strong was able to kind of dominate that, and he showed that he was able to have command at the line of scrimmage here at the Senior Bowl. I think Malik Willis far and away looked like the most vibrant, but being as far away as we were, you're not able to hear a lot. I do know that in interviews, Bailey Zappi was just a gentleman. Like, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. Just a really good guy. But I didn't think anybody stood out as like that real alpha leader, like you're kind of alluding to, like a Joe Burrow. Obviously, somebody like Burrow was special, but I didn't think any of them showed characteristics that were you as a leader. I don't think there were any quote unquote betas in that group. I just didn't think anybody stood out as an exemplary trait, so to speak.
Give us real quick, and then we'll get to random Viking of the week here as well. But non-quarterbacks. So Vikings, shocking. They need cornerback help in the draft potentially. They're still 2 starting offensive linemen short, as far as I'm concerned, at center and right guard. There's some other, another edge rusher, depending on what happens with Danielle Hunter too. Who else is standing out to you, whether it's Senior Bowl or otherwise, that might make sense for the Vikings at 12 if they don't take a quarterback, Tyler?
Absolutely. So I dove into this really deep on my piece for the Vikings Wire yesterday. I did about 2,000 words on what the Vikings could really take away from that entire week in Mobile as far as moving forward. Interior offensive line is a very weak class outside of about the top 3. Unless you want to go one end of round 1, early round 2, you're not going to get one that's going to be able to contribute right away, or maybe not even contribute year 2 to a level that you would want. Cornerback is very top heavy, so I would highly recommend getting a guy early, either in round 1 or round 2. Pass rushers, a lot of them. There are a lot of good pass rushers, and the interior defensive line class is going to be stacked on day 2. Travis Jones out of UConn, like zero technique or his shade 1, just massive power, and he's got a lot of quickness. He was the biggest bully on the interior the entire week. Perrion Winfrey, the former junior college transfer from Oklahoma, he was the most dominant interior defensive lineman all week. He was so dominant that in team drills, they were intentionally double teaming him every play, and he was still disrupting. The far and away the best player in Mobile was Florida State edge Jermaine Johnson. Utilized last year at Georgia. Some people may remember him because he was a last chance U guy. At Georgia, he was really a one-trick pony, just basically won with one pass rushing tool. Now he's got like 3 or 4, and he uses incredible length and power. He's got enough bend to be successful, and he was incredibly dominant. There's a rep against Kentucky's Darian Kennard, who's kind of like a tackle guard prospect. What Deuce Staley, who was the acting head coach for the American team, did was at the end of every practice, they did a one-on-one, best on best. And Jermaine Johnson buried Kennard into the ground like he was yesterday's leftovers. It was a very, very impressive thing that he did. Edge rusher, you can get guys in rounds 1, 2, and 3, and they can contribute early and often. Minnesota's Boye Mafe had one of the best weeks. Struggled on day 1, showed a lot of rebound on day 2. Day 3 was really good, and then he was the best player in the game on Saturday. I have it on good authority. He's going to test very, very similar to Danielle Hunter, and Daniel Jeremiah thinks he's a first-round caliber player. Wow.
Interesting. So I could see the way this shakes out, especially because the Vikings offensive line right now is so young. It's one of the youngest in the NFL. You got Christian Darrisaw under 24. Ezra Cleveland's like 24. Right. I don't think Bradbury is going to start anymore, but like pretty much everyone is. Brian O'Neill is like the veteran, and he's only been in the league for 4 years. So I could easily see them if you're saying that the interior offensive lineman pool is thin in the draft. Find some free agency money, go sign a veteran center or a veteran right guard, and just bring some experience to that group. And then I could see them, if they don't take a quarterback, going defense in both the first 2 rounds, a cornerback and an edge rusher, and doing it that way. I think that's probably the most likely scenario right now.
And it's probably the smartest scenario if you don't go quarterback. Edge rusher and corner, obviously 2 huge needs on the Vikings. And these classes are very, very good. Whoever you take in round 2 is probably a day 1 starter, not necessarily because of necessity. You're going to get real talent on day 2 just because of how deep this class is. There is a group of about 10 or 11 pass rushers that could realistically go in round 1, and some of those might not even go in round 2. It's just a very deep class with a lot of diversity. You can get any type of pass rush. You can get a speed guy, a power guy, a guy who's more of a hybrid, a 4-3, 5 technique, a 3-4. There's something for everybody's taste. And with the presumed hire of Ed Donatel, one thing that he and Vic Fangio have done is they have crafted their defense around who's rushing the passer. So I don't think they're going to limit themselves based on what kind of scheme they run and who they draft. They're just going to draft a really dang good football player if they choose to go the edge route. And that should be really exciting for Vikings fans.
Hey, so if they do go to a 3-4, which I think they're going to, it sounds like it. Who do you think currently on the roster, especially among the defensive starters, Tyler, who do you think doesn't fit in? Who do you think is going to probably have to be replaced because they probably are more of a traditional 4-3 guy, but don't necessarily fit the 34, as I like to call it?
I think with the way the NFL is trending is they're utilizing a lot of hybrid style fronts, and they're using it based on situations. I actually think the Vikings defense could translate pretty decently into a 3-4 right away. You could put both Dalvin Tomlinson and Sheldon Richardson at those end spots and feel pretty comfortable. Michael Pierce is built to play a 3-4 nose tackle. Kendricks can play a 3-4 middle linebacker, but I'm worried about him long term because I think he's already on the downside of his career, and that's kind of scary. Danielle Hunter, use him however you want. He's going to be successful standing up, hand in the dirt. I don't really think it matters with him. He's that good.
Yeah, that's going to be. I'm curious to see what they do with him in the offseason here too.
Football.
So you can find, Tyler does great work. Vikings Wire, as he mentioned, there's a big article out. NBC Sports Edge. And Climb in the Pocket, and check him out on Twitter. He is very engaging on the Twitter sphere too. So, Judd, before we get to random Viking of the week, and you attempt to snap your 3-week losing streak here.
Yeah, don't bring that up.
Why don't you tell us about?
I don't want to hear about that.
How much?
I don't want to hear about that.
How much you've lost off the jowls of your neck there?
I think we have visual evidence of this.
Oh,
Declan Goff, can you show the before and after?
Look
All right,
at
folks,
this guy.
if you are watching this right now, and if you are, we certainly appreciate it. That guy on the left, well, let's just say he was, how can I put this nicely about myself? Rotund. The guy on the right, things now fit him. And look at that face. Look at the face. Both was sort of the scruff. So it's apples to apples. But the scruff is still there. The 3 chins are gone. That's thanks to my friends at Livia Weight Control Centers. Down in those shots 30 plus pounds. That's right, down 30 plus pounds. And so if you saw that, you are saying to yourself, Judd, how do I do what you did? Because you're just Judd. I mean, come on, I can do it too. And I got news for you. You can. It's I did an 8-week challenge. Get your first 8 weeks for free. That's right, for free. In that time, I lost 26 pounds. Imagine losing 26 pounds. 855 go LIVEA, Livia.com, Livia.com, Inside the state, there are locations that you can go to. It's fantastic. But if you're outside the state, LIVEA.com, consultation on Zoom. You can actually get the food, and there's not a ton of work and upkeep here. It's easy, but sent to you. So inside or outside the state, you too can shed the pounds like I have. Livia.com, LIVEA.com. Do not delay, lose the weight.
You like that?
There we go.
You like that?
Do not delay. Lose the weight today. See, I could be your marketing manager.
I like
here.
it.
All right, it's time now for the random Viking of the week. One of our favorite, most
3-week losing streak. All right, let's go.
Segments here. So, Judd, you have a 15-9 lead on Declan, and just like we did last time, a couple weeks ago, we're gonna have Declan and Tyler team up against you. So if Tyler got the last one in the blink of an eye.
Jarek McKinnon, 3. I think?
Yep,
All right.
Jerick McKinnon, a couple weeks ago. Jerick McKinnon. So, the last 5 random Vikings are now Fahu Tahi, Mitch Berger, Toby Gerhart, Jerick McKinnon, and John Carlson. And again, the rules are I'm going to throw out a series of clues. You guys all of you get 3 incorrect guesses. And if you can ask me questions if you want to, but I can refuse to answer. So if you think you know, shout it out. My money's on Tyler here.
Yep.
Yeah,
So,
me too. Until further
me too.
notice.
So Declan, just don't throw out 3 incorrect guesses before.
I don't like the fact that that he gets Declan though. Like, I mean, it feels like it. That's not really fair.
Well, Declan's done fine on his own too. The last.
Right.
few weeks.
Exactly.
So,
Uh-huh.
all right. This random Viking of the week hails originally from Brooklyn, New York. This random Viking of the week played college football in the SEC. Can you guys hear the birds chirping outside my?
Oh, yeah.
My
Random birds chirping on a random
dog is
Viking of the week.
barking too loud. She's very upset about something, and I have no idea what.
Do you have to go?
She's no. She's been barking the entire show.
That's
so
not going to go look.
having to mute. No, I don't care. She's just melting down.
Get out.
Be quiet. Okay.
All right. This random Viking of the week once scored touchdowns on Monday Night Football for 2 different teams in the same season.
Well, that's a great clue.
I don't know how many times that's happened, but definitely happened. All right. This random Viking of the week played for 5 different NFL teams in his career.
Okay.
When he was in high school, in addition to being a really good football player, obviously, he was a pretty darn good high school basketball player. He helped his team to the state championship as a junior. In his NFL career, he played for these head coaches. How about this list, by the way? It's a power list here. John Fox, Mike Tice, Brad Childress, Tony Dungy, and Bill Belichick. After spending 2 seasons out of football, he was drafted by the Florida Tuskers in the UFL Premier
right,
Season
Tyler.
Draft.
Tyler, this is right up your alley.
Tyler, how much
right.
Florida Tuskers football have you consumed in your
All right.
life?
I'm going to
None.
take a guess. I'm going to take a guess here. I don't think it's right, but there's certain things about this that ring a bell a little bit. Darius Renard.
Ooh, that's a great. We should definitely save that one
No,
Future.
he played football at West Virginia. That would have been
Okay.
the Big East at that time.
for
Okay.
Darius Reynard, too,
I didn't know
as
where he
Judd
played
and I can
college
attest,
football.
had one of the worst days of rookie minicamps I have ever seen. When he literally
stuck.
dropped like every pass that was
And he
thrown
stuck.
at him.
And then got traded to the Giants, right?
Wasn't he in the Sage Rosenfels trade?
Yes. Yeah. You know what? That was probably Coughlin at the time.
Okay.
Yeah. Tice.
All right.
Hey, Phil, did the Vikings draft this player?
Nobody drafted this player.
Okay.
Nobody drafted this player. But the Vikings were not the first team he played for. This player caught 10 passes in the tuck rule game.
Oh, got it. Jermaine Wiggins.
Jermaine Wiggins.
Tyler gets
I knew when you said the tuck rule game.
I'm so glad I got to deliver that clue. I was worried that you guys were going to get it before that clue, and I didn't want to unveil that clue too early.
I
He
was
caught
thinking
10
wide
passes in the
receivers
tuck
and was not
rule.
even thinking tight ends. I
Yeah, I was
should have
thinking
gotten
wide
it the
receivers,
second you
too.
said Belichick.
And Brooklyn, New York. I didn't know that actually.
My only other clue, and I don't know if Judd might have gotten this one. My only other clue was going to be his favorite night of the week is Tuesday night. I don't care what. We'll play football on
he's
Sunday
on,
night, Monday night, Thursday night,
Boston Talk
Tuesday
Show
night.
now, right?
He does
Boston
radio
Sports
and
Talk.
Yep, he's done radio for both WEI and the Hub.
I was like a
Sports Hub Boston.
second beat behind, like because I was saying Jermaine Wiggins, and you were saying
That's hilarious.
that's good.
Congratulations,
Oh, that's
Tyler
incredible.
and Declan. It's a 4-game winning streak.
Oh,
over
I was
Judd.
so close, so close.
Jermaine
that
Wiggins,
time.
man. Jermaine Wiggins, one of the only tight ends that would hurdle over defenders too on
Oh, that
his
was
way
amazing.
to 7-yard gains. It's a
He was
great
good though.
play.
He could catch the ball. Big
So,
man.
He could definitely catch.
Yeah, he was a legitimate pass catching tight end. So, all right, Tyler, if you guys want to follow Tyler Forness, he's all over Twitter. What other projects are coming up that people should keep an eye on for you?
Absolutely. You can find me on Twitter at @TheRealForno. I've got a mailbag piece coming out tomorrow for the Vikings Wire, 2,000 words on a myriad of topics. I'll be doing some stuff for NBC Sports Edge, and then every Monday night on the Climbing the Pocket YouTube channel, Mock Draft Mondays, where we do a mock draft each night, and we talk about different position groups, different things that could be impacting the Vikings this offseason, and that draft strategy.
I want a mock.
Love it. Love it. Love it. All right, that's a wrap on today's draft edition and speculation of Purple Daily here. Mackie, Judd, executive producer Declan, Tyler Forness. We'll see you guys tomorrow.